Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are continuing in this book, this L Ron Hubbard book of the evolution of a science, Dianetics, that he became famous for these articles. And then because of how famous he was, he threw them all together into this book, which we're reading, which is an absolutely freaking insane book. We're now in chapter 4. We've only got like 2 pages left. If you want to know what's going on, check out the previous videos, okay? And anybody got time to be wasting more time explaining what we've done before. But where we're at now is we left off with you never met a dog. Ugh. You never met a dog yet that could drive a car, or a rat that could do arithmetic, but you have met men that couldn't drive a car and men who couldn't do much better with arithmetic than a rat. How did such men vary from the average? It seemed that the average man had a computer that was not only better, it was infinitely finer than an animal's brain. When something happens to that computer, man is no longer man, but a dog or a rat for purposes of comparison in mental power. So, okay. Man's computer must be pretty good. When something happens to that computer, okay, cool, I'm just following. Sorry, I have to get back into the flow of what all of this is about every time I come into these videos. So that's why I'm just taking a moment to what was he saying again? Man's computer must be pretty good. After all those millions of years of evolution, it should by this time have evolved a perfect computer, one that didn't give wrong answers because sorry. I just had one of these memories of like how I just sometimes, guys, I just do these things and I give myself like second and third and fourth and fifth hand embarrassment, and then I look back and I think, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Anyway, here we go. Let's just continue. Man's computer must be pretty good. After all those millions of years of evolution, it should be. In fact, it should by this time have evolved a perfect computer, one that didn't give wrong answers because it couldn't make a mistake. That's really odd. Why by this time? I would love to know where he says why by this time. Because in order to make a statement like that, basically he would have to be saying that he has calculated that based on the evolution rate that we are currently working with, we, by this point, if you were to extrapolate the graph, should be at the stage where we are the perfect computer. Otherwise, he's just saying stuff. Because who's to say that the perfect computer version of our brains isn't still to come? Right? Because I know he's about to base all of this malarkey is all about to be based off of the fact that he's going to say the reason the computer's not working is because of the reactive mind. So we already know where we're going. But I just find it interesting how he just makes these statements that don't make sense. How have you evaluated that? How have you quantified that? Because in order to quantify that, yeah, you'd have to have a graph of the evolution rate and comparing it to perfection and have a number or some kind of point benchmark of what perfection would be. And then we would have to be able to look at the length of time based on the current rate we're going in from all of time, from the beginning, from the first human mind. You see what I'm saying? He says all this stuff that just don't make no sense. He says we've already developed electronic computing machines so designed with such built-in self-checking circuits that they can't, by their very nature, turn out a wrong answer. Okay. Those machines stop themselves and summon an operator if something goes wrong so that the computer starts producing a wrong answer. We know how to make a machine that would not only do that, but set up circuits to find the error and correct the erring circuit. If men have figured out ways to do that with a machine already, I had long since laid aside the idea that one could do this job by dissecting a neuron. Dead, they don't talk. Now I had to lay aside the idea that the brain structural mechanism couldn't even be guessed at this stage. But working on the heuristic basis of what works, it is necessary to know how it is done. In terms of physical mechanism, if we can show that it is done, it was convenient to use electrical circuits as analogs and the analog of an electronic brain because I knew the terms of these things. The brain may or may not run on electric currents. What things can be measured in and around it by voltmeters are interesting. Oh, here, I see how we get to the E-meter. So he's basically using the fact that our brain does function kind of similar to electrical circuits, like the synapses in between our neurons, which are sending the messages through our brains and all of that. He's basically using that to say that we can use electrical currents electronic circuits as an analogs and the analogy of an electronic brain, because I knew the terms of these things. The brain may or may not run on electrical currents. What things can be measured in and around it by voltmeters are interesting. So he's saying we can measure things by voltage in the brain. And he's saying, or at least he's introducing the idea that it's interesting, which I think when we get into this, we're going to understand so much more why he does this whole e-meter thing, because we already did a video about the e-meter. So if you guys want to go and check that out, go and check it out. But I'm even more curious. I would like to actually see, like, I would really like somehow, and by the way, I'm not done with Scientology and going to these Scientology places, by the way, guys. Just hope you know that. We're not done. But I'm just trying to sit my butt down, okay? I keep hearing airplanes, seeing airplanes, and just my hand starts twitching at the idea of booking flights to go places. But then I remember that, listen, it's not the timing of the Lord. Anyways, I have so much stuff to do at the moment. I literally can't afford to go anywhere. Anyways, the brain may or may not run on electric currents. Yeah, so this is where I feel like he's starting to say, here's how we can evaluate the machine of the brain and how it's functioning. We're trying to find something we can do that's tangible, because we're not these airy-fairy voodoo witch doctor shaman people that he keeps referring to. We are these engineering mind scientists who must have a tangible physical way of evaluating things. And I actually agree with him. I agree with him on that. But electricity itself is measured indirectly today. Temperature is measured by the coefficient of expansion caused by temperature. I guess he's right about that. Encephalographs. Okay, let's see what those are, because he did say, if anything is in the book that you don't understand, go to the glossary. So we're going to the glossary. Where is this? Where is this guy? I love that we're actually getting through this. We've actually got through a good chunk of this, you know, by the way. We've got through probably about over a third of the actual book, because the rest of it is literally all of this. All of this stuff. Okay, so encephalographs, instruments of measuring and recording the electric activity of the brain. Wow, we're so surprised. So encephalographs are useful working around a brain, but that doesn't mean that the brain is as clumsy and crude as a vacuum tube rig. This was a necessary step because if the brain were to be solved, one had to suppose that the brain could be patched up and with some method decidedly short of surgery. Oh, okay. So again, he's laying the case for, the brain, there has to be a way that we can correct what's going on with the brain without doing an actual physical surgery. And maybe he's saying that this step of being able to do these encephalographs is helping us to find ways that maybe we can do that without the surgeries. So, okay, I see what he's trying to say. So here was what I seem to be working with. A computing machine that could work from data stored in memory banks. Sorry, I'm getting really distracted trying to think about these e-meters, because I'm trying to think, as a scientist, right? So I know that when you do these, what do they call it, processing, where you sit there and the person asks you to recall your memory, you know, the thing they do when you're getting rid of your things in your active mind. And they are measuring you on the e-meter to see if there's any, I'm assuming based on this, electrical current. What I'm trying to wonder is what is actually happening what is actually the process that is going on in the brain? I'm going to have to really think about that, because I'm just thinking, we'll have to see. Because that's really interesting now that I'm thinking about it. And now that I'm thinking about it with everything that he's saying already and that we've read through this book already, I'm just thinking like, Anyway, we'll come back to it. A computing machine that could work from data stored in memory banks and was so designed that the computer circuits themselves were inherently incapable of miscomputation. Okay. The computer was equipped with sensing devices, the sensory organs, which enabled it to compare its conclusions with the external world and thus use the data of the external world as part of the checking feedback circuits. If the derived answers did not match the observed external world, if the derived answers did not match the observed external world, since the computing circuits were inherently incapable of producing a wrong computation, the data used in the problem must itself be wrong. Thus, a perfect errorless computer can use external world data to check the validity of and evaluate its own data input only if the computational mechanism is inherently error-proof. Would this be possible? But men have already figured out mechanically simple ways of making an error-proof computer, and if man can figure it out at this stage of the game, 2 billion years of evolution could and would. I literally cannot stand this man. I can't stand him. I can't stand these types of egotistical people who just make these statements. And this, you know what? I was watching a TV program. I'm not going to say what the TV program is, right? Because there's reasons why. And in the long term, you guys understand why anyway. So, and one of the things that I realized is that somebody was getting away basically with lying. And the reason they were getting away with lying, and they would literally convince people of their lies. And the reason why they were getting away with it, quite simply, is because they would be lying so confidently that the sheer level of confidence that they had in saying the things that they said is why people were believing them. And I see this in real life as well. That's why it just shocked me that it was also on like this random TV thing. Because it's like I've literally seen this in real life. When you have people who are like this, right? When you have malicious, evil people that are highly intelligent, one of the tactics that they use is to be boldly confident, right? Another area where you can see this type of behavior is in the dating pool, like with men. I noticed that with guys, a lot of guys will walk in with bold confidence, right? Like I was laughing at a video that I was watching the other day. Guys, a lot of boldly confident guys will be like, so here, put your number in my phone. Like that will literally be what they'll start with. Or they'll just say, this is my number, as the very first thing they say, because they know, and it works, by the way. It works. It's severely, highly unlikely that would work with me, by the way. But, you know, and it works because the boldness of the confidence makes you stand in agreement with something you haven't even necessarily fully thought about, just because of how confident that person is. It's like that their confidence is enough for the both of you. And that's what L Ron Hubbard is doing here, because he's just said 2 billion years of evolution could again, based on what? Because we could do the actual calculations and we could find that actually it could happen, but it could happen in a minimum of 100 billion years. So where is that number even coming from? Oh, it's conveniently the number of years to where we are right now. So that's convenient. And then saying, and would, based on what? Again, based on what? Show me the evidence, show me the calculations, show me the computations. And it's actually so amazing. I love the Lord, by the way, because it's crazy that I did a computational quantum mechanics based research project. So I know about doing computations. I know about plugging in computations, calculations, getting out results, and I know the limitations of doing that. In fact, that's actually why I scored so highly. That I basically said that despite all that I've done, I've basically done nothing, because there's so many more things that would have needed to be considered. And there's so much limitation to what we have right now that it's impossible for me at this stage to make any other grander conclusion than anything that's already out there right now, because the same results I had are the same results the other scientists have, because we're all at this barrier where we can only move so fast in science. And this is why I believe in the Lord, of course, because, you know, I would say that this is why I believe in the Lord, but this is how I believe in the Lord. So these bold assertions of L Ron Hubbard here, not me calling him L Ron Hubbard like he's my husband, that's hilarious. L Ron Hubbard is just crazy. So we'll leave this one there, because we can nicely move on to chapter 5 for a separate video. But yeah, so some take-home messages here about L Ron Hubbard and just life lessons. I think in this one we'll give some life lessons to learn from L Ron Hubbard and people like L Ron Hubbard, right? A lot of intelligent people, a lot of the most intelligent people out there that have the most malicious intent will utilize the things that they understand about you more than you understand about them. So again, it's like what psychopathic people do the same thing, right? Psychopathic people, when they're trying to love bomb you, or when they're trying to get you, like, so say for me as a woman, if a guy who is a psychopathic wants to engage with me or get me involved or love bomb me and all these types of things, one of the things that they'll do is mimicking. So I say, hey, I love to go skiing. They're like, oh my gosh, skiing is my favorite as well. Skiing is my absolute favorite. I saw this really displayed. You guys should watch it because it's actually really good, only for the adults though. And it has got a little bit of too much adult content, but you know, it is really good, on Heist, Berlin, right? Money Heist, all the Money Heist things are so good. I haven't seen all of them yet, but they're so, maybe I should watch another one today or tomorrow because I have been so busy working. But anyway, the Money Heist is so good. But Money Heist Berlin, you should watch it, right? On the show, and I'm not giving away the plot line, but let's just say one of the characters literally explains this in the show about how in order to gain someone or to gain somebody's admiration or whatever, mimicking or saying, like, giving them what you know that they want or what they will feel like they can have with you is a way to manipulate them. And so this is kind of what I feel like L Ron Hubbard does as well, very well, is in, like, everything that he's saying is like, oh my gosh, you're like, it's like walking into the Scientology buildings. It's like, oh my gosh, you're sick of the airy fairies. We're sick of the airy fairies. Meanwhile, the whole religion is based off of galactic overlord Xenu, who kicked us Thetans off of his planet 75 million years ago. So in that case, if that's the case, but then, do you see what I'm saying about the lies? But the manipulation is, I know what you want to hear. He's like the perfect chameleon. He is the ultimate perfect chameleon, becoming whatever he needs to become in order to reel you in. That's exactly what they do. And the times I've been into Scientology, more than once, when I've been in there, it's always the same thing. I go there, whatever story that I pitched. The first time the story that I pitched, I just went in there and I was just honest. Oh yeah, I teach science. And they're like, yeah, you'll love it here. Like, we do science. And the person I was with was a lawyer. So obviously we've come in and we're talking about being into, like, proper, you know, logically thinking based things. Little did they know about, you know, me and the Lord, but, you know, and so you walk in there like, oh yeah, this is what we do. It's just all science. It's just all science here. All you do is science, like, you know, because we don't do all of that, like, other weird religious stuff. Like, I grew up in church where they were, like, literally a cult. And they always used to say all this stuff, but, like, over here we don't do that. Over here, this is the cool kids table. Do you see what I'm saying? This is where the intelligent folks sit. Like, we know, listen, we don't even judge you for where you were. Literally, one of the benefits of Scientology is increasing your IQ level. So this is why you need to be here. You see what I'm saying? And then you're just like the little innocent, like, oh wow, this is where I'm at in life, and this is what I need. And I'm not saying that in a way to go against anybody who has or ever been interested or gotten into anything to do with Scientology, by the way. I don't make no mistake. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to say that this is how people like him work. This is how these kinds of people work. Some people, they are paying so close attention to you. It's like the tone scale thing that I was hearing about in the New York City one. And they were talking about the tone scale. And I realized that when they talk about this tone scale thing, like, there's 8 different tones. And on this tone, it's this. And on that tone, it's that. And the tone scale, right? Cool. Tone scale. One of the things that I realized is the way they talk about the tone scale. It's like they're basically teaching you how to read people and then how to respond to them to get the result out of them that you want. It's literal witchcraft, which is what? Manipulation and control. So, right, for example, and that's what I found so interesting about the tone scale thing, because then I realized as soon as I watched that video that was there, and then I started to talk to the woman about it, and as she was talking to me, I could notice that, like, what she was doing and what they all do is they're very like measured and very just calm, right? And when you speak, they don't really react massively to anything that you do. So, like, they don't react massively to if you're really upset at Scientology. They don't react massively if you're really into it. They are very in control of how they come across, right? And so what happens is I noticed that they adjust based on the way that you're acting, the way that you're behaving, right? And so this is one of the things that I want to test out, because I want to go to another one of them and see how it will go if I go there and I go in a different type of way and come with a different type of energy, and see how they, because what I haven't done yet, which I will do, is I should go to the one in London. Maybe I should just go to the one in London. This idea dropping in my head right now. I need to just, anyway. Tomorrow. Me visiting Scientology in London. No, we won't be doing that tomorrow. I have something else planned for tomorrow. But anyway, so yeah, so I'll be interested to see, like, if I go in there with the energy of, like, I've gone in there with the energy of, I don't know anything, but I need help. I'd like to go in there with the energy of, like, I've heard so much, I want to get involved. And then I'd also like to go in with the energy of, I've heard so much and this is a cult and this is a scam. And I want to see what's going to happen in all those scenarios and how they're going to deal with it differently, particularly to do with this tone scale thing, right? Because they're prepared to deal with and to maneuver themselves to however you are. Again, just like how a person who is narcissistic in a relationship sense would do a similar type of thing. Like you could be freaking out because the person cheated on you, right? And what they will do is the way that they will respond is like, well, you're shouting right now and I'm being calm and I can't be around that kind of energy. So I'm just going to walk away right now and come back when we can have an adult conversation and you can show me some respect. If you can imagine, like, you wouldn't understand, not to say that you should, because I don't believe in shouting about stuff, but you could understand why somebody would want to shout if they've been cheated on. But in these scenarios, these kinds of people will take advantage, and it's the manipulation tactics. This is why, it's good that I've been through the things I've been through, because I know these types of characteristics of people so very well. So very, very well. I actually we won't even get into that. Actually, we will get into that. I had a very close and personal relationship with an officially diagnosed psychopath. Yeah. So when I say that I know about these types of behaviors, it's interesting because at the time I was like, well, I'm going to do all the research I possibly can. So that's why I actually know a lot about the traits of psychopathy, what you have to do, because there's like a whole test, which I did my own evaluation of this person. I'm not that I'm a qualified individual, but let's just say in the early days of knowing this person, I scored them severely lower than I did by the end. And I was like, oh, now we're at the end. Now I can see why. And there's like 21 different characteristics. This is what I'm saying, guys. Like, these types of things and these types of people, these L Ron Hubbards, it's always the intelligent ones. I just want to go ahead and say that. Even psychopaths, right? I was explaining this to somebody else the other day. Did you know that psychopaths, according to science, if you do the PET scans, the brain scans, if you look at the scans of the brains of psychopaths, they're the exact same as the scans of CEOs. The guy who did the study that I was reading about, right, he realized this because he decided to do the scan of his own brain alongside the scan he was doing of these psychopaths, realizing that he was seeing the same traits in them that he saw in the psychopaths. And then his wife actually confirmed that, yeah, if this is the requirements of what you say in marriage and that he's married, because these things don't necessarily stop you. And these things can be used in a positive or a negative way. That's why I don't villainize a lot of this stuff. That's why I don't even villainize somebody for these types of diagnoses, because I know that a lot of the skills in life that we have, it's about how you use them. So that's why, like, there's a lot of gifts that the Lord has given me, and that I can choose to use it for good, or I can choose to use it for bad. I can choose to use it as a witch. I can choose to use it as an angel, as I like to say, all of us women are witches or angels. There's no in between, right? But he discovered basically the brain scans are exactly the same. So this is what I'm saying. When you're dealing with certain people at a certain type of level of intelligence, right, they have a toolbox of things that they can do that they can use against you, and they can choose to exploit it, use it exploitatively, right? They can choose to use your ignorance against you, like what L Ron Hubbard does. So he'll know that you don't know better about this. It could be as simple as somebody could be lying to you, like in a relationship setting, somebody could be lying to you because because of their job, right? I'm trying to use examples of real life stuff because obviously a lot of this is like deeply scientific, but you could literally use like examples of where if you have, if you're if you have like a family member or maybe a friend who takes advantage of you and your kindness, they could be like, and they never really respond to you, they expect you to do everything, whatever, they could say, well, you don't understand what it's like to do my job. And you're like, and whatever. And because of whatever job they do, let's say that they're a surgeon, let's say that they're whatever, you're going to be inclined, because you're not the expert in that field, to believe and put up with things you shouldn't believe and put up with, because you're like, well, they're the expert and I don't know what they know. But they know that they know that about you, and they know that because you don't know what they know, and because you're going to be inclined to believe them because you don't know what they know, they can use that against you to manipulate you. And this is what I'm trying to say. Like, this is exactly what L Ron Hubbard is doing here. He knows what we don't know, and he very creatively, I have to say, this man, shout out to L Ron Hubbard, because he is an absolute expert at knowing things and then only telling you creatively the things that help what he's trying to do, throwing off the very clear red flags of the things he's also trying to tell you, and then just stating things that he has that are baseless claims that he hasn't actually offered something to prove. So there you go. Anyways, guys, enough of that. In the next video, we will talk about the next part, which is, what is it? Chapter 5 is, what is it? How the mind works. How the mind works. So next we'll be going on to how the mind works. Yeah, this is interesting. This is really interesting. It's fascinating to me to see somebody that is so intelligent in such a malicious type of way. I don't know. There's something really fascinating about that to me. Anyways, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. If life's a game, let's play to win. Don't forget to check out the other videos in the playlist if you haven't, if this is your first. I've got a whole playlist about Scientology. You can check out all the videos, all the previous chapters of this book, and other videos that I've done as well. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because if life's a game, then let's play to win. Also, guys, I've started a new series, Good Girl Gone Wild. Please go check out the series, because I'm really excited about it, and it's something I wanted to do forever. And so I'm just really excited about it. So it'd be really nice if you guys would support. Anyway, God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one.